Hey, what's up, everybody? So this is the thing. I really don't have time to put up videos about all the things that I want to be covering. But right now we're in this time where like every day there's breaking news that's just earth-shattering and life-altering and that will completely change the course of history, you know. And it's happening so fast. It's like we're just being blitzed with, you know, these agendas left and right, you know. Pretty much everything under the umbrella of Agenda 2030 is just coming at us now on a weekly basis, sometimes a daily basis. And it's more than we can even keep up with. And I'm sure that that's by design, you know, so that by the time something terrible happens tomorrow, you know, and something even worse happens the day after tomorrow, you're going to forget about the terrible thing that happened last week. It's just too much to keep up with. And so the way that I normally make my videos, you know, it takes a lot of time. You know, I mean, I try to present these high quality documentary style videos. And as much as I love to do that, you know, being a married man with 5 kids who's gone at work 11 hours a day, it's just not reasonable or realistic that I could actually cover everything that's going down right now. So this video is pretty much just going to be like, I'm pretty much just going to bombard you with a barrage of video clips, all that pertain to this notion of in the future, you know, or I guess you could say by the year 2030, that you will own nothing and you will be happy about it. And that's a quote from Klaus Schwab, the infamous Klaus Schwab, chairman of the World Economic Forum, you know, also author of The Great Reset. And so I just don't have time to narrate this video because I'm currently working on 2 other movies. And as I just described, I'm a very busy man. And so I hope that you guys will still appreciate the information and content of this video. And moving forward, I'm probably going to be putting up more videos in this style that I can just kind of throw together, you know, as I work on the more elaborate videos and documentary series in the background. So without further ado, I'm about to roll these clips and you just listen to what these people are actually talking about, you know, because this is the introduction to our future, you know, one where our controllers promise us that we will own nothing and we will be happy about it.
Imagine a world where the richer you are, the less you own. A world where a fancy car, a large house, and expensive clothes cease to be a status symbol and become a burden, while experiences replace belongings as what we cherish the most. Is it possible to own nothing but have everything? In the past, if your house was on fire and everyone was safe, what was the one thing you would want to save? Photo albums, right? Today, most of us have our photos safe and sound in the cloud. Our music, books, movies, all turn from physical objects to digital services. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Every year, I own less of what I use. I remember my 17th birthday. I was so excited to finally get my driver's license. It was a big deal to drive a car, not to mention buy one, compare prices, research fuel efficiency, deliberate about the color and design. Once having a car, you would need to insure it, fix it now and then, remember to fuel it, spend long hours searching for parking. Oh yeah, and wash it from time to time. After all that, why would you even want to own a car when what you really need is to get from point A to B? Today, I can summon a car anytime, anywhere. It appears within minutes, takes me wherever I need to go, and then disappears, like magic. In many ways, that is a better arrangement than having to own a car. What used to be a car is transforming into a riding service. Someday soon, personal cars may be banned in cities, replaced with an autonomous vehicle service. As a technology product designer, I've started to notice this shift from physical products to digital services. I believe that as objects become smarter, infused with bits of intelligence and technology, they will transform into services, swapped, shared, used in the same social way we swap digital media. Will our houses become services too? In the past, newlyweds would go ahead and buy a house, secure a mortgage, compare real estate, buy a ton of furniture, and spend long hours on upkeep and renovation once in a while. Why make all these commitments? Life is full of surprises, especially these days. Over the past few years, I have lived and traveled to more than 30 countries across 5 continents. With a supercomputer in my pocket and widespread connectivity, I don't need an office. I can work from anywhere. Travel has become a way of living, serving as fertile ground for a new generation of nomads. And that's when owning stuff really becomes a burden.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change. Last week, our government committed to investing more in international development while supporting developing countries on their economic recoveries and resilience. And on that note, today, I can announce that Canada will invest $400 million more in humanitarian and development funding, which will go directly to trusted partners on the ground fighting COVID-19. Our government is committed to investing even more in the years to come. In addition, we will continue to advocate for extending the debt service suspension initiative. We will also work on ensuring the special needs of small island developing states and other vulnerable countries are taken into account. Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs. Canada is here to listen and to help.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis. And now is the time for all of us to define our own role. What is it that would make it so that history would look at this crisis as the great opportunity for reset?
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate, and rebalance our world. Rebalancing investment, harnessing science and technology, and advancing the transition to net zero emissions, all elements of the Great Reset, are fundamental to building the future we need.
The world's problems fit on three sides of a triangle. It's one versus many, man versus nature, and the unfortunate foundation is long-term versus short-term.
We had already income inequality that was fueling income, race, gender inequality. We have a climate emergency, which we can't walk away from. There's no doubt that the very survival of the human race requires us to act.
This Great Reset is as serious and as dangerous a threat to our prosperity, to your prosperity and your freedom, as we have faced in decades, with these powerful bodies, including the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and even Prince Charles boasting that within a few short years, yes, their words, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Remember, this is not me saying this, this is them. They are even running ads for the Great Reset. A handful of countries will dominate. I wonder which ones they might be. A terrifying coalition of big business, big tech, and left-wing totalitarians are so confident and so brazen. I mean, they just stole the US election, so I guess they're feeling pretty chuffed with themselves, that they are now promising you will own nothing and you will be happy. What they should have added is, and we, the very rich, will own everything and be even happier.
Please explain to Canadian youth who are looking for a good future how modern monetary theory is going to help them get those jobs of the future, and how by 2030, when they own nothing, they'll be really happy.
The honourable member for Carleton.
Welcome to the year 2030. Welcome to my city, or should I say, our city. I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes. It might seem odd to you, but it makes perfect sense for us in this city. Everything you considered a product has now become a service. We have access to transportation, accommodation, food, and all the things we need in our daily lives. One by one, all these things became free, so it ended up not making sense for us to own much. First, communication became digitized and free to everyone. Then, when clean energy became free, things started to move quickly. Transportation dropped dramatically in price. It made no sense for us to own cars anymore, because we could call a driverless vehicle or a flying car for longer journeys within minutes. We started transporting ourselves in a much more organized and coordinated way when public transport became easier, quicker and more convenient than the car. Now I can hardly believe that we accepted congestion and traffic jams, not to mention the air pollution from combustion engines. What were we thinking? Sometimes I use my bike when I go to see some of my friends. I enjoy the exercise and the ride. It kind of gets the soul to come along on the journey. Funny how some things never seem to lose their excitement: walking, biking, cooking, drawing and growing plants. It makes perfect sense and reminds us of how our culture emerged out of a close relationship with nature. In our city we don't pay any rent, because someone else is using our free space whenever we do not need it. My living room is used for business meetings when I am not there. Once in a while, I will choose to cook for myself. It is easy, the necessary kitchen equipment is delivered at my door within minutes. Since transport became free, we stopped having all those things stuffed into our home. Why keep a pasta maker and a crepe cooker crammed into our cupboards? We can just order them when we need them. This also made the breakthrough of the circular economy easier. When products are turned into services, no one has an interest in things with a short lifespan. Everything is designed for durability, repairability and recyclability. The materials are flowing more quickly in our economy and can be transformed to new products pretty easily. Environmental problems seem far away, since we only use clean energy and clean production methods. The air is clean, the water is clean, and nobody would dare to touch the protected areas of nature because they constitute such value to our well-being. In the cities we have plenty of green space and plants and trees all over. I still do not understand why in the past we filled all free spots in the city with concrete. Shopping? I can't really remember what that is. For most of us, it has been turned into choosing things to use. Sometimes I find this fun, and sometimes I just want the algorithm to do it for me.
The sustainability theme has been right through the pandemic.
No, I would see even a chance to accelerate, let's say, our transition into a green economy, because people probably recognize that we have to become more resilient. We have now the experience of one crisis. The environmental crisis, the climate crisis could be a much bigger one.
Are you ready for climate lockdowns? What, you think I'm making that up? Avoiding a Climate Lockdown by the WBCSD, that rolls off the tongue. That stands for the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. 3M, Apple, Bloomberg, BMW, Chevron, BP, Dow, DuPont, Google, IBM, IKEA, Kellogg's, Nestle, Procter & Gamble, it just keeps going. This was published way back in October 2020, so it's not even a new thing. They say in the near future, the world may need to resort to lockdowns again, this time to tackle a climate emergency. Wait, how could the climate create an emergency that we need a lockdown to solve? Who cares? They say under a climate lockdown, governments would limit private vehicle use, ban the consumption of red meat, and impose extreme energy-saving measures. Fossil fuel companies would have to stop drilling. To avoid such a scenario, we have to overhaul economics and do capitalism differently. You see, in this article, they explain how the three crises, the health crisis, the economic crisis, and the environmental crisis, are all interconnected by the Anthropocene, which they call a disease. Yes, the disease of the Anthropocene. That's from the U.S. National Library of Medicine and National Institute of Health. What is the Anthropocene? Well, it's humanity. Anthropocene literally means the world as controlled by humanity. So what they're saying is humans are a disease that needs to be wiped out. And here we go again with that green transformation. I've been telling you guys for a long time that the Green Rider from Revelation is about world population reduction. That's the solution. That's what we're seeing now. See, a climate lockdown is just the ultimate unlimited bailout system for giant corporations. And these corporations are saying, instead of bailing us out constantly, let's just reinvent capitalism so that we can never lose. Let's force people with biometrics and a prison planet to just do whatever we want.
Cloud seeding is also very expensive. And it only works if there are already clouds. And it only works if there are already clouds.
The first thing they installed was a huge loudspeaker, through which they played white noise to simulate the sound of a rocket. They then sent a number of trucks in different directions out into the wilderness, and the drivers were ordered to stop when the noise levels became acceptable. This gave them an imaginary boundary line, and anyone living on the inside of it was offered a simple choice. Stay, and you'll never hear another television program as long as you live. Or take the NASA shilling and get out. No one stayed, and NASA ended up with exactly what it wanted. 125,000 acres of nothing. They even had to move 5 cemeteries, because the noise they were planning on making would wake the dead. Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And, as it turns out, the cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there which was generated by the engine is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you! It's raining! That's unbelievable! Oh.
We have an incredible opportunity to create entirely new sustainable industries, investing in nature as the true engine of our economy.
The current global crisis has disrupted every aspect of our lives, but it has also presented us with an extraordinary opportunity, a chance to reset and accelerate efforts to improve the state of our world.
Changing our current trajectory will require bold and imaginative action, together with determination and decisive leadership. In order to secure our future and to prosper, we need to evolve our economic model, putting people and planet at the heart of global value creation. If there is one critical lesson we have to learn from this crisis, we need to put nature at the heart of how we operate. We are on the verge of catalytic breakthroughs that will alter our view of what is possible and profitable within the framework of a sustainable future. We need nothing short of a paradigm shift, one that inspires action at revolutionary levels and pace. We simply cannot waste any more time. The only limit is our willingness to act. And the time to act is now.
The CDC has just said you can't force someone to pay rent. You can't evict anybody. They don't have any statutory authority. They're a public health agency that makes recommendations. That is their mandate. And now they have basically said to middle and upper middle class Americans, we don't care if you go broke. And oh, by the way, You people who own that property still must pay the debt to the banks. So the banks aren't bearing any of the burden. It's just average middle-class Americans that this administration is sitting by and letting it be destroyed. This is so unconstitutional, and I'm calling on all property owners to band together and launch a massive lawsuit against the CDC for assuming constitutional power that they are not granted. This is not unconstitutional, it's anti-constitutional. This is communist. The government has just taken control through the CDC. Now, they're not part of the government. They're a private public health agency. They're quasi-federal because they're given some federal authority over health. But as I said, they can't make mandates. They can only make recommendations. Now, see, the FDA can determine what medicines get to market, what gets approved. That's federal power. The CDC possesses no such power. They have no authority to do this. And they need to be sued into oblivion. This is beyond outrageous. This is just a flat power grab of all private property. Do you know when the man from the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, said, and he was, ha, 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 you'll own nothing and you'll love it. Do you remember that? And that made the circles in both the Marxist stream media and our media. Can you tell me, was that a correct statement? Is that what we're seeing here? I think it is. Do not let this stand, America. Do not let this stand.
COVID-19 is one of the biggest crises of our time. It has impacted every single one of us, shaken our social systems, and disrupted every sector of our economies. The automation of work, combined with a global recession, led workers to lose their jobs at an accelerated pace compared to previous years. And this trend is expected to continue. The ongoing shift in the division of labor between humans, machines, and algorithms might displace 85 million jobs worldwide in the next 5 years, while 97 million new roles, ones that are more adapted to this new task distribution, may emerge. By 2025, companies expect to displace roughly 6% of their total workforce. 1 in 2 workers will need reskilling, and those remaining in their current roles will need to update 40% of their skill set to adapt to the changing labor market. There is a way to collectively benefit from these challenging times. Decades of research have shown that the most valuable asset of any economy or company is its human capital. Around the globe, companies are already experiencing a shortage in relevant skills for future roles and are investing in reskilling and upskilling their workforce. By 2025, organizations say they will train over 70% of their employees to ensure they can smoothly transition into the jobs of tomorrow. These include DevOps engineers, artificial intelligence specialists, digital marketing managers, talent acquisition specialists, and customer success specialists. It will take on average between 2 weeks and 5 months for workers to pick up new skills, allowing them to move into these new roles. But data shows they won't need to have the perfect skill set to start transitioning. While 2/3 of employers expect to get a return on investment in employees' reskilling programs within just 1 year, governments will also need to step in to update and fund education and training systems, and to ensure displaced workers have adequate safety nets. With purposeful leadership and collaboration, we can turn this global crisis into a unique opportunity to transition into a future of jobs that is inclusive, fair, and sustainable.
We want an end to the profit at all costs mentality, because if we don't build an economic future with people at the centre in a sustainable frame where we are respectful of our planetary boundaries and the need to change our energy and technology systems to have a living planet for human beings. The world could fund it right now, and yet 70% of the world's people have no social protection. That's respectful of public services and not simply trying to make profit of them.
I believe it is very important for countries to recognize that, there are some essential services that need to be provided in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, in terms of good governance, in terms of social safety, that cannot be compromised on. This is a virus that doesn't respect borders. It crosses borders, and as long as it is in full strength in any part of the world, it's affecting everybody else.
I think the key is to put the health of people and the planet first. And that's what's happening on COVID-19. And that's what has not yet happened on climate change in many cases, because the fossil fuel interests and the large industrial farming interests, they want to keep things the way that they are. There's big vested interests that want their health to come before people's health and the planet's health. And what we're learning from this crisis and pandemic is it is possible to switch it.
By 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy about it. Why would you be happy about that? Well, turn off your brain and start listening, because we'll answer that question and more. Klaus Schwab is the head of the World Economic Forum, which is a group of the richest people in the world who want complete control of the world. Recently, Schwab endeared the world when he said, by 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy about it. Wow! That seems like a win-win, and he believes you're dumb enough to fall for it, and you kinda are. So here's how it'll work. Under the World Economic Forum's vision, governments and the super rich who already control the governments will own everything. That's a win for them. Meanwhile, you own nothing, which is a win for you, according to them. But you'll be allowed to rent things from the government that you need, like clothes, shelter, and a pacifier for your baby. You'll also receive an income from the government. Sounds great, doesn't it? This just in! We're already doing some of that. They're called stimulus checks. In this innovative vision of freedom, you'll be completely controlled by the government because you're completely dependent on the government. I smell a social credit score. Will there be a social credit score that requires you to be strictly obedient to the government in order to receive your meager rations? I don't know. Does the World Economics Forum vision sound like socialism, communism, and totalitarianism? No, because they're calling it something different. The Great Reset, actually. First, let's be clear. For all of human history, socialism, communism, and totalitarianism has always worked swimmingly. It's never created super oppressed and abused people. 100% of the time, it's never done that. That's why you've always seen people from capitalist countries like the US risking their lives to flee to communist countries like Cuba. Or at least what the US used to be. And still is. Kinda. But if socialism, communism, and totalitarianism is so great, and indeed it is, why are some slightly skeptical about Klaus Schwab's agenda? Well, that question sounds like hate speech, so we'll gladly censor any attempt to even ask it.